morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to have a little bit of a look at Relicanth. Now, I am a big fan of Relicanth. The Relicanth that came around in Call of Legends, I consider one of the best pieces of art we have ever seen on a Pokemon trading card game card, and I do not say that lightly. It is the last card that I just, for some particular reason, went and got like a binder full. I'll be honest with you, they were not terribly expensive cards. But what I will say, love me some Relicanth. So, this new one, can it be any good? Yes. Yes, it really can. If you want to play fossil Pokemon, if you don't want to play fossil Pokemon, maybe stay away from Relicanth. But if you want to play fossil Pokemon, Relicanth's got your back, dudes. Relicanth's got your back. We're also going to be talking about the new fossil card while we're here, because we really do need to look at them together. I have previously done a video on Arctozolt, the very first one we ever saw. I will pop a link to that video in the description so you can go and peruse that one at your leisure. So Relicanth then, what do we see? We've got 90 HP, which is fine for a basic. Not particularly high, but it's not full-on embarrassing. Retreat cost of 1 does mean that you can use U-turn board for free retreat, which is quite nice. It's a good card, we like using that. And the weakness to lightning is not ideal. I mean, in the brief period before rotation, Electro Power really does make it a bad weakness, because any lightning Pokemon can start adding 30 to their attack, and put it this way, if they're doing 20 damage, they can one-hit KO with an Electro Power. However, post-rotation, maybe it's not so bad, although Pikachu and Zekrom still really good, and they will be playing other lightning Pokemon, so maybe it's not ideal. As for being a water Pokemon, if you want to attack, we've got Frostmoth to attach extra energy, though I will suggest we're probably not going to be using it. We are hitting weakness on all of those welded X like Reshiram and Charizard, for instance, which are likely to still be pretty good post-rotation. So, yeah, not a bad time to be a water Pokemon. Now, the attack for 2 energy, 40 damage, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it in this video. I am not particularly impressed by it. But I am very much impressed by the other attack. The single colorless energy on a basic kind of attack. I should mention our translations here come from, well, it's kind of a mixture. The lovely Antoine Boulet and the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net. And bearing in mind that they both agree, I think it's looking pretty good. What we see here, 1 colorless energy, fossil search. Search your deck for up to 2 rare fossils and put them onto your bench. Oh, yeah. Rare fossil, eh? You see, when I looked at Arctozolt a moment ago, I told you that it didn't evolve from unidentified fossil. And incidentally, I said that this was annoying because it meant that you couldn't use Pokemon Research Lab to just get 2 of them out. Pokemon Research Lab is awesome. If you're playing a fossil deck, at least, it lets you just grab 2 Pokemon that evolve from unidentified fossil and put them straight onto your bench. So there is no more evolving or any of that. You've got the Pokemon straight away. This isn't that. This is not get 2 Pokemon out and put them straight on the bench. This is get 2 fossils out, and because you're doing it at the end of your turn, they will be ready to evolve up at the beginning of your next turn, but they're not ready to go this turn. And that's a big difference. It is a very big difference not being able to have them this turn and having to wait until next turn to do so. It sucks, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It sucks. It's not the end of the world, but it's not particularly ideal. The other gigantic disadvantage, and this is what really annoys me here, or at least makes me sad, I don't know if annoyed is the right word. Pokemon Research Lab is a stadium, and it ends your turn in the same way that an attack does, but it is a stadium, which means if you go first on turn 1, you're allowed to use it. Turn 1 going first, you're not allowed to attack, and you're not allowed to play a supporter card, but you absolutely are allowed to use a stadium, which you'll want to do. Here, you've got to wait at least until your second turn going first, or your first turn but you're going second, And then you can use Relicanth to go and get a couple of rare fossil out. And then on your second turn, third turn if you're going first, then you're ready to evolve up to Arctozolt. And I don't like that anywhere near as much. I'm looking for speed here. I'm looking to try and get these fossils out as fast as we possibly can. And maybe if you're going second and doing this turn one, but even then your opponent's had a setup turn, albeit without a supporter or an attack, and then they've had a regular turn, and then you finally get to evolve up into your Arctozolt. And I'm just, if you've forgotten, the Arctozolt, if you've not seen it, but again, link in the description, it's got an ability that puts 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon whenever they attach an energy from their hand. So you want to have this going as soon as you possibly can. What you don't want to do is give your opponent 2 turns to attach energy before you get this rolling. It makes me a little bit sad. Now, I still think this is going to see play in fossil decks, but I think it's going to be in addition. We've got stuff like Rose Tower, that stadium that lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in hand. With Oranguru in a stadium. And then we've got things like Crobat V, which is just Shaymin EX, but limited to once during your turn. So I think we can play a fast, consistent deck here, which is going to draw us into our rare fossils fairly easily, and then get rolling that way. They are only stage 1s at the end of the day, and I know that you cannot search out rare fossil using stuff like Quick Ball because they're not Pokemon, but I'm not sure how much Relicanth is needed. This is a perfect turn 1 going first attack, but you're not allowed to play it turn 1 going first, which means you're kind of putting yourself on the back foot. Whereas if you can be drawing into these fossils naturally, using another attack, blah, 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 and then having your Arctozolt, that might be, I think, is quite a bit better. Now, we have talked about Rare Fossil a few times. We probably should mention it. It is an item card that can be played as if it were a 70 HP colorless basic Pokemon. And any time during your turn before you attack, you may discard this card from play. This card cannot retreat and is not affected by status conditions. It is the new version of Unidentified Fossil. The big difference here, of course, is that you can't cross the stream, so to speak. It means that some Pokemon evolve from Unidentified Fossil, and some Pokemon evolve from Rare Fossil, and they are not the same. It's quite nice, and it's got a little HP bump. It's 70 HP rather than Unidentified Fossil 60 HP. So it's nice to have that little bit of extra HP so you can, potentially survive a hit here or there. The thing is, these fossils are awkward to get into play. It's why Pokemon Research Lab was printed. It's why Pokemon Research Lab is so good. And yet now we end up with this other fossil, this rare fossil, that doesn't work with Pokemon Research Lab. But then again, you've got Relicanth. But I'm just going to say this one more time. I do not for a second think that this is anything like a good replacement for Pokemon Research Lab. I just don't. Because you see, Pokemon Research Lab ends your turn, but you leave anything else you want in the active. And one of the things I'm a big fan of with Arctozolt here is Galarian Weezing. Leave Galarian Weezing in the active, turns off your opponent's abilities to slow them down, and you get to quadruple poison them while punishing them for attaching energy. If I'm using Relicanth, I'm leaving Relicanth in the active, which means I've got a 90 HP Pokemon sitting in the active, which is basically sitting there ready to be attacked and KO'd and give up a prize. We don't like this, ladies and gentlemen. We're not fans of this. We don't want to be just giving up prizes willy-nilly. We want to have an advantage from a Pokemon sat in the active. Now, it's a stage 2, so it's not actually terribly realistic, but the Cursola from Sword and Shield. The Cursola from Sword and Shield's got that redonkulous ability, whereby if you try and KO it, your opponent gets to flip a heads, and if they flip a heads, they KO you back. Now, I know Cursola's not actually necessarily a great option with it being a stage 2, but that's the kind of thing I want. If I'm leaving a Pokemon in the active, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Though, as most of you have probably noticed at this stage, it is, of course, a Rebel Clash card. It is not a Sword and Shield card. I apologise for the mistake. The point here is that it's fine as an extra little trick. But whereas I look at Pokemon Research Lab and I go, oh my god, that's going to really help it out, that's going to make fossils way better, I look at this and go, that's quite nice. But I've still got to play the rare fossil in my deck. And I've still got to use my attack and wait until my second turn if I'm going first in order to attack. And I've still left a 90 HP Relicanth in the active in the meantime. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I think it's going to see play, because I think you've got to. But I don't think it's something like Pokemon Research Lab which is going to make this gigantic difference. I think it's going to be a nice little bonus if you're playing these fossils anyway. The reason we didn't mention Relicanth in the Arctozolt video was partly because of time, and partly because I really don't think this is a card that you have to play with Arctozolt. I think it's nice, I think it's useful, I think it's helpful, I think it's got your back, but I don't think it is necessary. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.